why we're not using wool, because it's got fantastic insulation values. You know, it's a hollow fibre, so it naturally traps air in it. They've been using it for a couple of thousand years. Look, I'm just very proud to be a New Zealander, a Southlander, and proud to be involved in using some of our local resources.
You know, looking behind you here, we've got plenty of wool bales ready to go for your insulation. What got you into manufacturing insulation as part of your building and construction business?
Well, I suppose I was just, when we were insulating houses and when we were doing our building side, on a hot day you can see all this glass fibre in the air and it just sparkles like glitter. And I sort of thought, you know, this can't be too good from the staff. And really it is a staff thing, because I refuse to use any other insulation. So that really got me thinking about wool. And then I had an opportunity to play around with another manufacturer's product, and it worked well, and it was simple to use, and it was a feel good. The farmers liked it. The young generation coming up like the sound of using wool. And look, it's a resource that we grow here in New Zealand, and you know, we don't use enough of it in different products.
So initially it was actually the health and safety of your builders and tradespeople.
Yeah, that's what originally started getting me into thinking, you know, why are we not using wool or something? Because it's got fantastic insulation values. You know, it's a hollow fibre, so it naturally traps air in it. They've been using it for a couple of thousand years. You know, you've still got wool mats and that, like in Egypt, and they were using the pyramids that are still as good as the day they went in there. So that really what sort of set us off. And then we're using a blanket product that's made here in New Zealand as well. And then I thought, well, why don't we try and use 100% wool?
And what were some of the challenges back then? Because this was before it became almost fashionable. This is decades ago, not years ago, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. What some of the challenges? I suppose just price-driven at the start was hard going, because wool was at a premium and competing against other products out there. But I suppose we never really, in our own builds, never gave the client the choice. We just said, this is what we're using, and everybody was pleased to go with it, you know what I mean? And knowing that they're actually helping the farmer out. Or the easiest ones to sell are the kids that live in town, that mum and dad are farmers. They want to help mum and dad. Sometimes they're hardest to convince the old farmers that'll say, look, we've lived in this house now for 40 years, I'm going to retire in 10 years, why would I want to insulate? I'd rather spend that money on a new boat. But I think there is a big shift now on using sustainable products. That's the wool there we're using. So we played around a lot with it. You know, we're using short fibre, long fibre. I think these are about 120 kilos. Yeah, so the guys just take this here and then just pluck it into a hopper, and they pull it with the ute to side, and then start installing it. Guy gets up in the ceiling and blows it in.
And how do you know that insulation's been spread evenly, not just in the ceilings, but when you're doing the walls?
Yeah, so what we use here, we use infrared thermal imaging camera. So we just go through the building, and quite often you'll find out there might be a brace at an angle that comes down. It's like that's real good customer reassurance that we do there. And when we're even quoting the house, we go around with a thermal image camera, because we might find that wall there has already been insulated.
And if you own your own house, should you look at then doing the walls as well, if the walls are actually where more of that heat loss happens than the underfloor?
Yes, definitely. So number one is always your ceiling. Always make sure your ceiling's well and truly insulated. Secondly, followed by your walls of your house. And there's products out there like Insulmax that you can do existing homes with. Followed by your windows. Now, a lot of people are putting a flat stick put in double glazed aluminium windows, but if you actually do the numbers, a single glazed wooden window has got the same insulation value as a double glazed.
Because the timber doesn't transfer the heat.
Aluminium window, yes. You're far better off going to a thermal broken aluminium, or wooden windows are becoming quite trendy again, or PVC windows. But the public have been led to believe that you need to change your windows to make your house warmer, when in initial fact you're only losing 10 to 15% heat loss out through your windows, and thermal drapes are equivalent to double glazing. But the manufacturers now will tell you, yes, that is right, you know.
That is the easy way to heat-proof your home, is just pull your curtains at 4 p.m.
Yes.
and have good thermal drapes that are lined.
And we used to have pelmets in houses, and pelmets were the best thing for insulation. Because like underfloor insulation is really easy to sell, because people feel a draft coming up through the floor, which it's not a draft coming up through the floor at all, it's convectional heat. So you heat your house, heat rises, hits your ceiling. The heat finds the coldest part of the room, which is the outside walls, if they're uninsulated. As the air gets cools down, it gets heavier and it falls down to the floor. Then it's drawn back to the heat source, and it's just convectional heat. And that's the draft people feel coming up through the floor. So if you put your feet up on a stool, you won't feel that. So it's not really the heat loss through the floor at all. It's actually because the walls aren't insulated. So underfloor insulation is easy to sell, but it is beneficial, there's no doubt about that.
But it's part of the overall, start with the ceiling.
Yep.
And go beyond the R values of the minimum spec.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like having a bucket of water with 10 holes in it. You do your ceiling insulation, you fill up, say, 3 holes. You do your underfloor, you fill up another 2. You've still got 5 holes left, and it's still leaking out through the walls. And as I said, all you're doing is heating the street.
What are the downsides of wool? Because one of the things I always worried was, like, could it get blown about in like a Wellington windy gale?
Yeah, no, wool won't blow around. Wool's got to actually, if you look at a piece of wool under a microscope, it's got like little spurs on it that interlock it, so it actually holds onto itself and naturally won't allow itself to be blown around. Yes, so that holds it all together and keeps it in a uniform height to maximise insulation.
So you've been with the Buy New Zealand Made campaign for, I think it's roughly on 5 years now with the Envirowool product.
Yes.
That's actually not your main business, isn't it? As B.J. Carter's, you're one of the builders of Invercargill.
Yes, yeah. Our core business is construction, and I suppose we're in a great position that we've been around for 60 years now, and we have got a great reputation in the building industry in Southland and in Otago, so that's always helped us. And I suppose we've always had a point of difference. That's why we have used wool, because we've got clients that actually want something a bit different, you know what I mean? They're perhaps not as price driven as a lot of other people out there.
And there seems to be a lot of jobs going on in Invercargill at the moment. From last time I was here, the centre of Invercargill looked like it needed some work, and it's getting that work. There's a lot of commercial building.
Oh, look, it's absolutely fantastic. Look, I came back from overseas 30 years ago with my wife and came back to Invercargill, and really it was looking depressing. And my wife was from overseas and she thought she was coming to a Pacific island, which she was, but it was just a little bit greyer down here in Southland. But look, we're so lucky in Southland to have people that are actually passionate and actually care about Southland. You know, we've got the Richardson group down here that are, I suppose, their core business. Most people know them through Allied Concrete, New Zealand. Well, you know, they've put up a quarter of the money for the CBD. You know, so they could have invested their money in Auckland or anywhere else around the world and probably got a higher return than they will out of Invercargill. You know, and that makes you really proud to be a Southlander when people start doing that. So I think, and the council have got in behind it, it desperately needed doing up. I think the beauty about Southland is, like, we've still got affordable housing down here. We've got a lot of expats coming back down here. We've got a lot of staff coming down here. Like over COVID, I employed another 3 staff, and so I got a guy out of Auckland, a guy out of Queenstown or Alexandra, and a guy out of Dunedin. But no, look, I'm just, hey, very proud to be a New Zealander, a Southlander, and proud to be involved in using some of our local resources for insulation.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, James. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. Oh, good on you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for watching this episode of a Kiwi Original. If you like what you saw, then hit the subscribe button and you'll get other episodes just like this one in your inbox. Make sure you hit the bell too for notifications, and you'll be served up uniquely Kiwi stories like this one, contributing to New Zealand's future.